Hey everyone, it's Colin. How's it going? I have a new addition to my small retro audio collection, and it's just too cool to not share. This is a Sony D5, also called the D50 internationally, and it's the world's first portable CD player. This particular one was manufactured in September 1985 and very generously donated to the channel by my friend Matt from Free Geek Twin Cities. It's definitely got that mid-80s design aesthetic. Even though the top and sides are plastic, the bottom panel is metal, and it's really heavy and solid feeling. It's a very simple player to use. On the front are just a few controls, there's a headphone jack on the right side, and the back has a line-out jack and DC power input. And that DC input is important because that's actually the only way to power this thing. Even though it's a portable unit, there's nowhere to put batteries inside it. Sony just didn't have the space. I think they considered this with their branding too, because the top of the unit calls itself a compact player and not a portable one. So that means you'd normally be using the included wall wart AC adapter. However, Sony did offer a couple of battery pack accessories that the player would slide into. They took 6 C-cell batteries, so yeah, they definitely made the player a bit less portable, and you'd get about 5 hours of use out of them. The thing I was really happy to see with this D5 is that it still works. I've had a lot of bad luck with retro tech lately. Some you've seen in previous videos and others in projects I'm still working on. So it's a huge relief that this one still operates flawlessly. I was expecting it to maybe be not that great of a listening experience, given the challenges of miniaturizing components back in the 80s, but it actually sounds surprisingly good, and it's fun to listen to. It sounds just as good as any other CD player I've had, and what I also didn't know is that this thing has a killer headphone amp in it. I usually have to crank the volume up a bit to get my Audio-Technica AD700s to a solid listening level, but plugged into the D5, they're downright loud with the volume wheel set to just 2 out of 10. The player's otherwise really basic though. You can skip tracks of course, and if you press the mode button to go into search, you can fast forward and rewind. But that's it. There's no shuffle or repeat option and no bass boost switch for the headphone output. Those would have to wait for a later model. But in case you're wondering, yes, it will play CDRs. The D5 launched at the end of 1984, and reportedly Sony's engineers had been told to design a player that was smaller than the size of 4 CD jewel cases. Clearly, they succeeded. They also succeeded in the marketplace. The D5 was a big hit with consumers, but not necessarily because of its small size or portability, rather because of its price tag. You'd expect a miniaturized device like this to command a premium, but it didn't. In fact, initially it sold for about $300 US, which was half of what a lot of home CD players went for at the time. So not only did Sony manage to shrink the player's size, it also integrated components more efficiently to drive down its cost. Up until that point, compact discs had been on the market for about 2 years, and while sales were growing, the cost of both the players and the discs put off a lot of casual listeners. But the D5's price was appealing enough to get many of those people to give the format a shot. In fact, even though it was a portable player, a lot of buyers didn't use it that way. Sony even offered an accessory AC adapter called the D50 that snapped onto the back of the unit and had a pair of RCA jacks to make it easier to hook up to a home stereo. Now that portability did come in handy in helping promote the compact disc format through word of mouth. Because of how easy it was to carry, people would be more likely to take a D5 over to a friend's house and show it off, maybe prompting them to go buy one themselves. And by November 1985, the D5's price had dropped to $200 US, and Sony was manufacturing 100,000 of them every month. With this new influx of CD player owners, demand for the discs, of course, also grew, and that led to more music being released on the format, and helped drive prices down. The D5 really started a snowball effect, and by the beginning of 1986, further big advancements had already been made, along with an increase in competition. Technics released its SL-XP7 portable player, which sold for $300, but was even smaller than the D5. Toshiba launched its first boombox with a CD player in it, the RT7095. And it just continued on from there. In the coming years, CDs would become more common than vinyl or cassette. And speaking of cassette, the 1979 launch of the original Walkman, the TPS L2, well, it had a huge impact on cassette sales. Within a few years, they were outselling vinyl records. So I think it's fitting that with the world's first portable CD player, Sony was able to do it again. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. You can follow me on social media at thisdoesnotcomp. And as always, thanks for watching.